average flow volume of 1 million gallons a day.
And is your testimony in reference to manufacturers?
That's correct.
So can you return to your statement about the major language in this piece of legislation potentially giving unnecessary duress to a larger manufacturer?
Yeah, so in the NPDES permits, the industrial source permit, which I have right here with me, it does, the word major is more of an administrative classification from our perspective, so it doesn't have like a defined load.
Are you open to clarification there?
So my understanding, and Darren, you can correct me, but there is already an EPA rating system in place that determines what is major for industrial sites versus what is minor, and I'm sure Darren can speak to the more specifics, but a classification system does exist.
It does. It's a US EPA classification system. There's a scoring sheet that we fill out for these facilities. It takes into account the type of industry it is, what the flow volume is, what the pollutants of concern are at that facility, and assigns a score based on those different characteristics. And then if the score is above a certain amount, it's considered a major facility. If it's below that, it's considered a minor. So there is a standard. There's approximately 54 plus or minus 53 industrial majors currently. And
in Illinois?
200 and some municipal facilities based on that existing scoring structure.
Okay. Do you have any further commentary on your objection as far as major?
No, and I think I was just referencing the word major to assume, or to not assume that every major source would have the potential to come into contact with PFAS. So
That's how I understood it. I just wanted to make sure that you weren't referencing the particular language in the bill that might be a concern. Okay. You mentioned a second amendment that was going to potentially bring some opponents in alignment. Can you speak to what would be in that amendment and who it would bring into alignment and why?
Yes, the Coal Association and the pork producers will be neutral with the coming amendment.
And what is the amendment language? Because I'm assuming we don't have that in front of us today.
It basically clarifies the applicability on defining the majors. There was some concern that the definition of major could shift to facilities that, maybe it wasn't intended to apply to. So there's some clarification in there about defining industrial majors and the POTWs and privately owned treatment works, like a sewage treatment plant that's owned by a utility company rather than the municipality. So they can still be a major, but they're considered a privately owned treatment works, publicly owned, and then an industrial major facility. So it's clear that it isn't intended to apply to farms, animal feedlots, that sort of thing. Some of those are required to have NPDES permits, but they are not majors. Coal mines are the same way. Most of those are covered by NPDES permits, but they are not. There are currently no major facilities that are mines. So some of that clarification there, along with a potential allowance for reducing sampling frequency in later years. Once some, the intent of this is to get data to find out where the sources of PFAS are, and then we can come up with a site-specific solution on how to address it in that permitting structure. So this is really just that data collection piece of it, and so the amendment that's coming will include an allowance for reduction of monitoring frequency in the future. We didn't specify what that frequency is. We want it to be a more site-specific kind of thing. If they are a type of facility that is like a metal finisher or something that are using materials that we know for sure has PFAS in it, there may be one set of sampling frequency that's